Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, almost said Monday. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Really looking forward for today's webinar. This is an onboarding webinar. You can do a quick sound check really quick. In this webinar, we're going to go over all the basics to getting started using Julius, whether this is your first time hearing about Julius or if this is you're a veteran Julius user. We'll go through all of the basics on how to get started and how to get the most out of Julius. We'll give folks a few more minutes to get started. I'm going to adjust my settings here. Where are folks tuning in from today? Dialing in here from our headquarters here in San Francisco, California. We do these webinars twice a week, thinking about changing that up depending on some of the feedback that we've been getting. Might dial it up, might dial it back. But hopefully at the end of today's session, everyone will have a firm understanding of what Julius is, how to get started, and we'll actually share with you guys a code to use at the very end to get access to Julius Pro, which you could use, get all the access to all the premium features that we have, and get even more out of Julius too. Awesome. Go ahead and change my screen over. This is the Julius UI. This is our homepage. For those who don't know, Julius is your AI data analyst. That means any questions that you would normally go either to a data analyst for, whether that's doing in-depth analysis, exploratory analysis, or just creating visualizations, you could use Julius for. Or if it's just any sort of data insights that you're trying to access to, questions that you're normally trying to answer using things like SQL and Python and trying to use Google Sheets and Excel files for, all of those, typically you're trying to get some sort of insight or get some access to insight from data. Julius can help bridge that gap, helping you do all of that work for you and alongside you too, not just for you. This is a landing page. You can go in and get started really easily. You could just click sign up. And there's 3 different ways that you could sign up. You could sign in with Google, with Apple, and then also with your email address. In this case, I'm just going to use my Google account that I set up. And that will bring you to our Threads page here. This is the UI for our chat and our Threads feature. Easiest way for you to get started, right? Simple chat bar here, and you have a way for us to upload files here. Just going to click upload file. Let's choose one of the files that I have here, and you can choose multiple files if you wish. So let me do these 4 here. We'll act like this is marketing and some product information in a product data set. What Julius is going to do is it's going to take all of those different files. In this case, these are all CSVs, and it's going to analyze them and preview them here for us too. So here you can see the different columns and the different rows that make up this data set. Likewise, on the right side here, you can see Julius took a look through all of those different files that I added, did some quick analysis and quick insights on what type of data and files they are. So here you can see the summary. This file contains a product catalog with 23 fields per item. Right off the bat, let's just ask a really basic question. Let's say, look for any interesting trends or insights. I'm going to press enter, and that is essentially the prompt that I asked Julius to try and fulfill. Julius is going to think through, hey, what's the best way for me to fulfill and answer this question that I just gave it? Here it's thinking. Julius is then going to think through, hey, I'm going to analyze the uploaded CSV files for trends and insights. I'm going to reason, I'm going to format it in a certain way. And what it's going to do is it's going to run and write and run Python code to run inside of this environment that we see here. For those who aren't familiar, Python is just a coding language used by programmers, developers, data analysts, and data scientists, and everyone else in between worldwide. And here Julius wrote all of that Python out for us. This is simply just code that it wrote, and it's going to use to fulfill my prompt, which is to load and look for any interesting trends or insights. All of this is ran inside of our own sandbox, what we call it. That's our own environment for Julius to run and execute the code and a place for Julius to have some processing power to analyze the files and any data that we give it. All of this you can see here in the upper left-hand corner, that's our sandbox. And just like any other computer, it has RAM and it also has CPU, all of which Julius will use to analyze the files. All right, so it looks like Julius is writing and executing those codes, and we'll see what it's able to output here. The cool part that you could see is as Julius writes this code out, you can always expand this show more button, and you could get a quick summary on, if I'm able to click it. One of the tricky parts here, let me scroll up a little bit. Yeah, if you're able to click it, you can see, hey, Julius explaining this code snippet computes and displays aggregated key performance indicators such as monthly revenue, category performance, channel mix, and top selling SKUs in a merged dataset. We also have all of the different outputs that it's coming up with as it's looking through and trying to see if there's any interesting trends or insights there too. All right, looks like we're just about there. And let's take a look here once Julius prints those out. Cool. So here's Julius is outputting all of them. I'm going to scroll back up to the top right here where it started outputting it. And here we see the monthly revenue and margin trend. It's a simple table, and Julius visualized it here. And you can see the sales over time, and then also the revenue and margin as well. Kind of funky looking chart. This is all synthetic data, so don't mind that. And then you can see Julius did a quick summary here. Review and margin move in tandem. Revenue and margin move in tandem with stable margin rate across 54%. You can see some other visualizations that Julius was able to do, including revenue by different product categories, different channel mixes, maybe if there's differences in sales between in-store, mobile apps, and online and phone, for example, and different SKUs and revenue, right? All of this we got from just one simple prompt of just load, preview the data, and see if there's any interesting trends or insights too. Not only did Julius create all those visualizations and write all of that Python without my input, it also came up with all these different summaries too on its own. Pretty high level overview of the data, right? In this use case, you could go as deep or as high level as you want to go with the data analysis you're trying to do. If you're not sure where you want to go or what type of questions to ask, we give several suggested prompts down here in the bottom. So we have one, what is the seasonality of top SKUs? How would discounts affect margins over time? And which channels drive repeat purchases most? Let's try this first one out here and see. Again, Julius is going to take a look and write the Python code out for this one. And then it's going to run and execute the code. While that's running, I'm going to open up the side panel here. This is your go-to resource for all the stuff that Julius is using, right? In our terms, we call it data frames. In other words, in non-technical terms, that's actually just a table that Julius is using for powering the visualizations it's creating and also for all the different types of data analysis it's doing. You can actually open up all these different tables and you can see the different columns and rows of the tables that it created in either the calculations or the analysis it was doing, right? So here we see automotive, all the different product categories and the different revenues and margins. Even down here, we have all of the merged data sets. You have the different transaction IDs, dates, etc. I find this very useful for keeping this open while you're working with Julius. It's an easy way for you to first see what Julius is actually doing under the hood, seeing what it's doing as it's manipulating the data or maybe making changes to the data. And then also just a way for you to double check the work that Julius is doing as well. At any point, you could always just download these as a CSV, and you could always import it into your CSV tool of choice, I would say. I'm not going to leave the site just yet, but you could open it up in Google Sheets, in Excel, or any other tool that you'd like to use, and you could dive into the data yourself as well. That's the Data Explorer. Other things that we'll talk about here, let's see, as Julius, I think he's about to print out some of these results. We have here we go. So here we have the seasonality of top SKUs. So we have the different products and then how much sales based off of season, probably by different months as well. So the one way to visualize this in a heat map. Here you have the insights, so what the heat map shows, as well as some takeaways. Let's say we want to be very, very specific. Let's say, can you create me a, let's say, pie chart showing revenue by product category? Julius is able to make many different types of visualizations and different types of charts, right? The reason why it's able to do this is because of the Python libraries it has access to that I mentioned above. Julius has a lot of access to all these different libraries, and with it comes many different ways to do visualizations, and also very different data analysis and different types of data analysis that Julius can do, essentially. So here we have a different pie chart, and then also the breakdown of category based off of shares and also of revenue too. Let's go down here in the bottom bar and let's explain some of these other features that we have. Here we have the model selector. Julius is powered by the latest and greatest models that are out there. From OpenAI's, we have ChatGPT-5 and then also GPT-5 Thinking. And then also if you want to use some of Anthropic's models, you can use Claude 4 Sonnet and also Claude 4 Opus too. By default, in all free plans, we'll have access to the Julius default, which is a mix of either Claude, Anthropic's Claude, and then also of OpenAI's GPT models too, depending on the use case. But you could easily switch over the models here. Maybe we try out GPT-5 here. And some of these other tools that we have chart themes, which gives you an easy way for you to customize the visualizations that Julius is making, whether you use one of our pre-built chart themes here, or if you even want to create your own theme, you could make one here and choose all of the different primary colors, secondary colors, and even things like the way that Julius formats subtitles, legends, and legend positions, or even things like the title style and grid lines and error bars. You can change all of that here as well. Common feature used by both universities and by enterprises, a way for you to match either the styling or branding of either your organization or university too. Likewise, you could just use one of the pre-built ones and then also even use our dark theme if you're a night owl, like a lot of folks here are. While we're in the settings menu, there's several other really cool features that we have. We have our customized Julius. This is custom instructions, a way for you to tell Julius, on top of the prompts that you're normally writing into the threads, how you want it to either visualize, use, or interpret your prompts, or even give it business context, like this is how I calculate MRR, this is how we calculate churn, for example. You can give Julius all of the different instructions here, and it will have it in its toolbox whenever you're working with it, whether it's in a thread, in a notebook, which we'll talk about later, or in any other place with Julius. Inside here, we have a couple other things. We have resources. So back to the containers I was talking about earlier. If, for example, you want to give Julius even more processing power or more RAM and more memory, you could update the settings here as well. Currently, I'm on the memory boost. This gives me 32 gigabytes of RAM and also up to 1 hour of memory time. Very, very useful for processing large amounts of data. By default, we get access to the standard containers, usually enough in, I would say, like 95% of use cases. But if you're looking for a little bit more punch, going for the longer lifespan or the memory boost. Then finally, I have some other features here in the general chat. You could change the light mode and dark mode. You could update the models here as well. And then also you could change the way that Julius displays these chats, for example. Sometimes some users don't really want to see all of that code, so you can collapse it by default, or you could show it depending on what you're looking for. Finally, some other features here that we'll talk through, including both extended memory and also advanced reasoning. Let's keep on going here. Let's say, for example, I want to make a report, right? Say, for example, I love these visualizations. Let's create a summary for my boss to cover in my weekly operations and sales meeting. Julius isn't just limited to just data analysis. That's what it can do primarily, but it's also able to summarize all of the different findings and all the insights that it gave throughout all of the analysis too. Really easy way for you to package up all of the different findings throughout your conversation with Julius, especially when you have a really long thread. The other way that you can do this is if you go to the upper right-hand corner, you can click on Generate Analysis Report. If you click on this, Julius is essentially going to do the same exact thing. It's going to take all of the different insights and trends and take away all the different prompts and code that we had used and just leave us a really nice report that you can share via PDF or via link to folks in your university or in your organization that really just only want to consume the key insights and visualizations and not really so much the code or the prompts used to get there. A very common feature requested by enterprise users. A lot of times they just want to do the analysis on their own, or maybe they did a lot of work with Julius and they really only just want something that they could share with either their leadership team or with their teammates as well, ahead of a sync potentially. Cool, so here we have a quick summary. We have some findings. You see some of the tables and also some of the visualizations that we made earlier in the chat, all minus all of the different prompts and different code that Julius had used to generate these as well. So it's a little more tidy, a lot more easy to consume. The other cool things is if you want to make any changes to this is all Markdown. You could update the report as needed before you share it. You could even preview what it looks like, and you could even download it as a PDF to share in Slack and Teams or via email too. Very, very handy. And last but not least, you could even just share the link to the report. Really easy way for you just to copy it, paste it into Slack or Teams, and then folks can just get access right to this report, and then also get an easy link to go to the actual chat and thread that you had used to generate it in case they want to either ask follow-up questions or build off of the analysis that you had done with Julius. Awesome. So that's, I would say, 4 of the key features, right, with using Julius. The basic flow goes from start to finish. Upload your data. In this example, I used CSV, but you could do any sorts of types of files, from Excel files, PDFs, even things like JSON, text files, even Python files you could add into as well. And then we just did a really basic analysis. Julius was able to load and preview the data. You could ask it any either simple questions that are really high level, or you could dive really deep in the nitty and gritty. We have both non-technical users who do Julius for things like exploratory data analysis, and we have very technical users who are doing ML training and ML model development with Julius as well. A whole bunch of different use cases that folks are using Julius. And then finally, we created a very basic report. First, we did this in asking Julius to summarize it for us. But last but not least, we used the Generate Analysis Report tool. Those are the basic features of Julius. We'll follow up after this call at the end of the webinar with our Getting Started guide. It has all the different ways and tips and tricks for breaking down complex prompts to ways and best practices for interacting with Julius over time to get the most out of it. Let's talk about some of the more advanced features. Let's start off with advanced reasoning. Really good segue. Advanced reasoning is a really good way for you to put in a really complex prompt. Let's say, can you create ML model, perhaps a logistic regression model to help us predict whether sales will go up or down in the next 6 months. I'll see if this can work because the dates I know in my data set are a little bit funky. We'll try this out. Pretty complex prompt, right? A lot of times maybe you have some really good idea for where you want Julius to go and you don't really want to break it down into too many steps. You could actually just give Julius all of this, toggle on advanced reasoning, and Julius will work through all the different steps it needs to in order to fulfill that pretty complex prompt. What we can do here is open up the side panel on the right-hand side, and we can look at the reasoning tab. And here's where you can see Julius is going to come up with a plan in order to fulfill the prompt. It's going to try to run through all of those different steps. And if it runs into any errors, it's going to work on debugging and resolving. Oh my gosh, this plan is really long. We'll see if it works. It'll try to work and resolve the plan as well. I think this is one of the things from using GPT-5. I think GPT-5 already is a very good model at doing some of these advanced tasks. So we'll see how this works in having it use advanced reasoning plus its advanced models too. Over here on the right side are all the different steps and things that Julius thinks it needs to do in order to fulfill that prompt. Here again, creating an ML model to project sales in the future. And here Julius is going to start generating the code in order to fulfill this as well. As Julius progresses through this plan, you'll see check marks or you'll see X marks. And if it runs into any X marks again, it's going to try to debug and run through what happened or what went wrong. And while this is running, and you see this one here, you can see Julius created a new item and it just said fix the error. And instead it's going to try to approach this in a different way. And you can see that here too. And you can see the code here is all collapsed. Again, this is because I turned off the display mode here up in the settings. But at any point, you could always expand it to see exactly what's going on. While this is running, it's a good time to talk about extended memory, right? Imagine we're working across multiple days, or in this case, multiple threads, right? So far in this webinar, we've only worked through one single thread. So all of the context, right, everything that Julius knows about what I'm trying to do or what I've already done is all pretty self-contained, right? But if we were working across multiple threads or multiple days, Julius will eventually start to lose some of that context because it just doesn't have that big of a context window across all those different threads or days. However, if you turn on extended memory, we'll use another model to summarize all of that key context and either formulas you used or work that you were doing. And it's going to keep all of that and give it to Julius as it works along with you. Really useful for keeping context over time, especially if you have things like formulas or if you have things like specific ways you calculate NRR or MRR or retention. Or if you've given Julius context about your business use case, right? Maybe you have explained to it, hey, I'm really trying to focus on getting more users, or maybe I'm really trying to focus on improving sales. Turning on extended memory will give Julius even more context about all of the work that you've done with Julius and also all of the information you've given Julius. I said earlier in the webinar that Julius is like your AI data analyst that works with you. And just like any human data analyst, all of the context you give it can only help the work that Julius does in both the accuracy of what it's trying to do, the outputs and the quality of what it's doing, and even just giving you even more concise and more digestible or consumable responses that you might be looking for there. Yeah, this is quite the hefty plan. To be honest, I've only ever seen plans be about 4 or 5 steps. I've never seen a 16-step plan from the beginning. But let's see how Julius does it, and you'll see it all running here too. While this is still running, I'll talk through some of the other resources that we have, in addition to the Getting Started guide that I'll share after the call in an email, as well as a code as a thank you for joining the webinar. You can also create or visit our both our community Slack, which we have here. Great place for you to just get information, talk to other users in Julius, whether it's about the work that they're using in Julius or questions about Julius, or even just talk about what you're doing or what you're up to. You know, the Julius community, as you've seen, folks coming on this webinar and who have joined in previous webinars, joined from around the world. So everyone's always, you know, we think it's a fundamental need for knowledge workers is to consume or get data insights, right? And it's not something that's, you know, just for any one group of folks. It's a really strong community of Julius users we're trying to gather. Likewise, there's some other resources here in the side panel. We have our documentation, great place for you to read up on the different features that we've built out, as well as some of the different how-to guides that we have put together. We have a quick started guide, as well as some of the videos, that's me, to go through. Covers a lot of what we covered in today's webinar, probably even more succinctly than what I was able to cover. And you have even more features like, hey, if you're trying to set up a team or get more folks from either your university or enterprise on Julius, how to get started here, as well as different things about notebooks, for example, another really cool feature that we have in Julius. Finally, if you ever do need help, for example, and you need maybe some support, whether it's related to your subscription, maybe you encountered a bug, outside of reaching out in the community Slack, the other place you can go to is our help center. So if you click on help here, this will take you to, this is our help center. I meant actually, if you go to our top right here, you can click on the help icon and this will open up our intercom, which lets you create a ticket, especially if it's a billing issue, product issue, or simply an account issue too. Alternatively, you could reach out to us at team@julius.ai. Another great way for you to just get in touch, and then we'll get back to you typically within 24 to 36 hours, depending on the volume that we're seeing. Small team here at Julius, but we do our best to try to get back to you guys as soon as possible. Finally, if you are interested in using Julius beyond just your own personal use, and you want to try to get either folks on your team or even getting your company trying out to use Julius, a lot of times we get questions about security, privacy, and our trust. You can visit our Trust Center at trust.julius.ai, and you could read up all about our different policies, get access to our SOC 2 Type 2 latest report, get a security one-pager, and even see our progress on GDPR, which is coming up really, really soon. So looking forward to that. And you can also view all of the other things. In addition to our current compliance, you could view our policies regarding organizational security, data security, and privacy, as well as look at some of our security controls and some of the other documents inside of our Trust Center too. If you have any questions, or if you have folks on your teams that might be wanting to ask either for a security questionnaire or additional questions, feel free to reach out at security@julius.ai and we'll get back to you as well. Awesome. With that being said, let's take a look back on how this plan is going. Again, probably one of the longest plans I've ever seen in my life that Julius has done, and it looks like it was able to do it. So let's take a look. To recap for those who have just joined us, about 10 minutes ago, when I first kicked this off, I was asking Julius if it was able to create an ML model to project future sales, and I turned on the advanced reasoning. And here we have Julius was able to go through, it looks like 90% of all of the different steps it had outlined. And let's actually scroll down and see some of the outputs here. It was able to do a one-page summary of the next 6 months of sales direction. It was able to take a data set, was able to build a logistic regression model. And then here we have the actual 6-month and actual predicted versus testing. So for those who don't know, and actually for myself, I actually don't know anything about ML models. I've created some with Julius, but the way they do it is by taking a data set, splitting it into one that you're going to use to train the model and one that you're going to use to test it and evaluate it. And in this case, you can see Julius had done all of that. Finally, it ended up creating some test predictions, took a look at some of the other things related to the accuracy of this model, and then some other follow-ups, like how do we actually go about using the information and using these predictions that Julius had created. Pretty cool. I'm going to share this one with the team. Again, I've never seen a plan this in depth, but hey, that goes to show we could create an ML model with just one single prompt, at least a first version of a model too. Some other features I'll share before we talk about it are notebooks. That's the other really common feature for folks, and we'll actually be talking about this in a future webinar too. If this is your first webinar you've joined, we do these webinars twice a week. You could see all of the upcoming webinars in our Luma, and you can see all of our previous webinars in our YouTube channel as well. In our YouTube channel, youtube.com/JuliusAI. Let me see if I have it here. You could see if you go to videos, if you go to live, and you go to, just scroll down on the bottom, you can see all the different types of webinars. We alternate typically between the onboardings, like this one here, on just how to get started and the most, when you're first trying to learn how to get the most out of Julius. And then we also do one on notebooks, which is one of the features, and then also one on data connectors. I'll give a brief talk through of both of those in case you're not familiar. All of the work that we've done today is inside of a thread. This is perfect for really quick insights or one-off asks of Julius. But a lot of times when you're doing data analysis, you want to return for insights, or you want to iterate on insights over time, right? In this case, if you want to do this sort of analysis over and over again, it's actually better for you to do this in what we call a notebook. A notebook is essentially a collection of different prompts that you could either run in a sequence or in order, or you could even run them, you could save them, do the analysis, save them, and then rerun them again, right? So here I have a notebook that we've created before for doing some product analysis. I think this one's from our previous webinar. And you can see we created all these different prompts, and Julius is able to do the analysis over and over again. All you have to do is just rerun the cells there. So that's sort of the TLDR on notebooks and why you might want to try them out. If you're still confused by notebooks, you can also view our notebook templates and take a look at some of the notebooks that have been created and shared by users of Julius, as well as folks on the Julius team here. So for example, we have a sales CRM close loss reasons notebook. You can simply click on Run Notebook here, and it'll create a template that's all pre-filled for you with all the different prompts and steps. All you have to do is plug your information and just press Run All, and Julius will do the work for you. Again, if you're looking for more info on notebooks, I would check out the previous webinars or check out the upcoming one too, where we'll walk through how you can create one of these notebooks from scratch. The other common webinar that we'll do is for data connectors, right? In this webinar, we uploaded the file manually and we uploaded it to Julius and analyzed it. Great, again, for one-off asks, but if your data is frequently changing or if your data is being updated live, or if your data is simply living somewhere else, like inside of a Google Drive, OneDrive, SharePoint, or if, for example, you could simply connect these directly to your Julius, and you can pull all of that information into Julius and start accessing it right away. You can imagine that cuts out about 90% of the work, actually. You don't have to go to these tools to either write a query or download the data or CSV to upload to Julius. You don't have to upload to Julius. And you could simply, again, it goes hand in hand with the feature that we just talked about, notebooks. You could rerun an analysis with that live connector, so you don't actually have to monitor it at all times. Gives you an easy way for you to get insights and access to visualizations delivered straight to your inbox too. So whether you're a student, university professor, someone who works at an enterprise, or you just have a Google Drive, OneDrive account, these are the easiest ones to get started and our most popular ones. Makes it super easy to just pull any files you have there right into Julius. If you're a marketing team that uses Google Ads or Meta Ads, that's pretty much 95% of all marketing teams, you could actually pull all of the different insights from those tools back into Julius, do the analysis there, and even use Julius to optimize some of those campaigns that you're running. You could use some of our MCPs that we have from Intercom, Notion, GitHub, and RevenueCat, and even any of the MCPs that are out there, and you could pull any metrics that you have from those tools back into Julius to analyze. And then finally, if you have your data in a database or a data warehouse like Postgres, BigQuery, Snowflake, what else? SQL Server, MySQL, Supabase, you name it. Simply add in the different credentials that you need here. And Julius will be able to write a query, pull that data into Julius, and then manipulate it, analyze it, and create any insights for you, all in one single step. Pretty straightforward. Pretty high level overview actually, but we'll talk through this a little bit more on the upcoming webinar on Thursday, where if you have a little bit more questions about data connectors, we'll walk through how to set up all of these from scratch. And last but not least, we have our Teams feature. Really easy way for you to collaborate and share files, consolidate invoicing, get things like RBAC, role-based access control, and two-step multi-factor authentication. You can do all of this when you create a team. And the other really cool thing about Teams is you could share notebooks and collaborate with them, collaborate in them in real time, which means you could see all of the prompts, outputs live as someone's typing in there, and you can see the outputs being put out by Julius too. Quite a lot of information. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick pause there. That covers pretty much 95% of what you need to get started. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to join us in the community Slack, and we have either folks in our community who are more than willing to help out, or we have folks in the Julius team who will respond to any questions that you have there. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us at team@julius.ai. I want to thank you guys so much for joining today. If you have any questions, let me know now. Any comments, any feedback, we'll again send that email out after the chat with the information about how to get more out of Julius, and also a code on getting a 5-day code for testing out some of our pro features. And then we'll also send out a quick feedback form too to see if there's any ways that we can make these webinars more useful in the future. I'm going to do quick a few more minutes here, but let me know if you have any questions before we hop. I'm going to go and play some music too in the meantime. Okay, I'll stay on the chat a little bit longer after we turn off the stream. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And again, thank you so much for joining. We'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next webinar. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening, night, or morning, wherever you're dialing in from. And we'll see you in the next one.